You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
Welcome to the 21.5 Show, a podcast for professional pilots by professional pilots. Join Dylan and Max, both with experience in flight instruction, the airlines, and business aviation, as they talk to a variety of industry experts, share stories, and have a little fun along the way.
Max, we're taking it down to the wire today, recording late night before episode release.
Schedules are tough sometimes.
That's right. Busy schedules.
But here we are for you.
Good show today. A little bit of everything.
The much anticipated return of Ted.
That's right.
Much to my chagrin.
We'll see what he's up to. Going to discuss some internet meme culture. Very relevant topic with all the GameStop stuff going on, some aviation related stuff. This is a topic you're really passionate about, Max. I think it's really
as you'll hear. It's just really in my wheelhouse. I spend hours a day researching this. So.
And a good story at the end, of course, to wrap up the show. But before we get going, let's talk a little bit about that giveaway we had teased a few times.
Free stuff.
That's right.
Pilots love free stuff.
That's what we know more than anything else. If it's a concierge lounge, they're going nuts. Free FBO items.
That's interesting, actually. Think about that for a minute. Like all the FBOs just give away free food to the pilots.
Yeah.
Like we require hot popcorn upon entering.
Ice cream sandwiches. If you go to like Jet Aviation at Palm Beach, shout out. I think Texas Jet gives some good stuff. We should have, that would be a good one.
I thought you were going to say the Gander. Gander is always known for the ice cream sandwiches.
Oh, do they have ice cream also?
Yeah.
They don't even have a cooler. They just leave them outside.
It's just out on the shelf, on the ramp.
Do you remember when you would, man, I know our listeners will, some of them will remember doing the fuel stops at Flower Aviation.
Oh, yeah. And you get some steaks.
Yeah. Wine.
What did people do that had pressurized baggage compartments? Because I remember that was like a beachhead day for the mid-continent stop for the Transcon. Mm-hmm. We just throw them in the trunk because it was it was freezing cold. Yeah,
that's a good point. Oh, I thought you were talking about the wine for a second. Yeah, you meant the steak. Yeah, to leave them cold.
Who was the steak? Flower Aviation?
I thought so.
Didn't they have girls in like bikini tops and the whole thing?
I think that was a days gone by, but yeah. So for our airline pilot listeners, there's a lot of incentives for pilots to stop at certain places to do fuel stops. And the fuel points obviously is the one now. And I don't know. Couldn't you get a leather jacket in Grand Junction if you took enough fuel on?
Oh, I thought you meant if you took your plane to me. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I was just a big Atlantic Bucks guy for a while.
Everybody was.
G3 during the charter days, you could crush.
You could crush. I know. So anyways, pilots love free stuff. We got some free stuff to give away from our friends at the Airfare Snack Company. We talked about them a few episodes ago. They do healthy snacks for crew members on the road. And we said to be eligible for this giveaway, you've got to write us a review on iTunes. We got some good ones.
I think we did mention something about just we're here for the snacks.
Yeah.
A couple people really took that to heart.
Exactly. Let's see here. Let's read these. All right. You want to read the winner? You want to announce it?
Of course. From Furloughed Again. Are they even pilots? Question mark is the title. Mediocre content, questionable professional credentials. I periodically download, but don't listen because they went to Embry-Riddle. I mean, I guess if I want to know how to fly a 20-mile final at Flagler County, I could listen to their advice. Just here for the free snacks. Thanks, Dylan and Max. Smiley face.
And he spelled my name wrong. And I'm still going to pick him up. And we didn't go to Embry-Riddle down in Daytona. How dare you?
Apparently Flagler County was a reference to the Daytona Embry-Riddle. But
yeah, we kept it tight in 15 miles up in Prescott.
Either way, that's the winner. So we will be sending your healthy Airfare snack pouches. And Dylan, why is it important to eat healthy snacks?
I feel like you have a very specific answer in mind.
So you can keep your medical.
Oh.
But if you don't choose to eat healthy snacks, what would you do?
Well, the easiest thing to do would be to pick up the phone and call our friends over at Harvey Watt.
Boom.
Yeah, that's right. They provide a loss of license insurance for
a loss of license?
License.
I think they call that life insurance.
Well, they have license.
You provide that too.
Yeah, they got them both. So there you go. I was trying to combo it in. It's only a 30-second read. I'm trying
life
to
insurance, loss of license, or loss of license insurance.
That's the combo. You get there's a little discount. They don't know about that yet.
Stack it.
HarveyWatt.com for all the details on that. They offer
Maybe we can get a branded type of insurance. Loss of
license.
license.
The 21.5.
It's a combination of loss of license and life insurance.
Are you listening to this, Rob?
Yeah.
Let's get a new package for our listeners. Yeah. HarveyWatt.com. Check out all the information. They cover all professional pilots, corporate, charter, airline. But just eat the healthy snacks too. I mean, do both.
Obviously.
Yeah. So
let's dig into the mailbag, Dylan. So we did post those photos of our friend's King Air landing gear stuffed with weed.
We got a lot of comments on social media, and a lot of people just reached out and said that was the best story we've ever had on the show. Which I would. The only one I thought was really good too is, remember the one from George Nolly, where he had the flight suit loose and then he pulled all those G's and then he like crunched his nuts.
Oh yeah, that was you know which
too.
one though takes the cake is the two American MD-80 guys that took the contract trip.
Oh yeah, that was a whole different deal. Yeah, for the Russian.
That was an incredible story.
That was in a whole league of its own. I forgot about that.
But
one.
anyway, so some really funny comments. One of them was, "Wonder how much the infrastructure and security fees are there." From Michael H. That was a good one.
Oh, for the picture of the airplane in Mexico at the And then somebody else said 1010 funniest aviation story I've ever heard. And then a couple people brought up the little Easter egg we left. Max, this was your idea.
Oh, yeah. So someone, Mark Z says, I listened to the podcast today and was laughing like crazy, especially the last 4 minutes. So for those of you that as soon as you hear the closing music, you turn the podcast off, you're missing out.
Yeah, that was a good one. It's funny. I love those that pop up later on. And
sometimes we just crack ourselves up with our banter and
that's it.
We tack it on to the end of the podcast. And some people find it funny.
Some interesting follow-up. I'm not going to read this entire email. I don't want to out anybody. So the pseudonym is Burning Burrito, and she wrote in to say, well, she basically explained what happened at the Orange County Tower and why it was closed for like 6 days. So there was obviously the COVID outbreak, but there was a little bit more to the story than that, with like trainees and a supervisor. And anyways, it all kind of was a perfect storm for that tower closure.
My favorite line is she explains about the whole thing that happened and why there were no controllers. And the last sentence is, commence operation localizer hold.
God. Email number 2 says, just listen to your recent podcast about furloughs and opportunities and wanted to say I enjoyed it. I worked for Silver Airways, and as a single parent, I have loved my quality of life being home 99% of the time. By some miracle, my seniority has allowed me to stay in the game during all of this. I have heard from all my friends since day one I should go to the bigger, better paying airline. Honestly, I'm super happy, and we have this unique business model that has helped me survive this pandemic. Signed, happy to drive to work, Mary Ann. We got a couple more emails kind of with the similar messages.
From Mike, Furloughed and Confused was an excellent episode. I started working for Allegiant in 2010 thinking it would be a touch and go. Just an intermediary stop before that legacy destination. I fell in love with the place. Almost 0 overnights in 11 years. I get to be a dad to my 3 kids, and my job and my airplane don't define any part of me or my personality. Thanks for a great show, Mike.
And we received a few other. I just actually got a text today from another ULCC pilot who was like, man, what a great episode. James had some good points. So in the future, I think we need to explore this ULCC thing a little bit further.
I do. I think that the dynamic of all airlines might change here coming up, because you have, what do you think of when you think of legacy airline?
I mean, I think of the wide body international
you think of wide
travel.
bodies. That's it. Period. Right. That's normally what separates the legacies from everybody else is the wide bodies. And I think that their business model is going to change with those wide bodies. And because that's such a huge risk, because they're so expensive to acquire, so expensive to operate, that if you don't fill those things consistently, that's a huge financial risk. Whereas these narrow bodies now with the huge legs, with these efficient LEAP engines and like the A321 XR, and like they can do these what were normally wide body flights in narrow bodies, which present a much lower risk profile to airlines. And so And also that might bring, the ultra low cost carriers and lower cost carriers into that market. I don't think you're going to see the New York to Heathrow stuff, but I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think the ultra low cost carriers are going to be a real force to reckon with here in this pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it happen a couple times.
Travel leading the recovery. That's their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult for everybody else to compete without last minute higher fares that are being bought by business passengers to compete with those.
And that's what we've already seen during other Black Swan events was the ULCCs recovering quicker. So
yeah, but there's some, I've heard predictions of a significant segment of business travel that people think will not return. Like it's going to be a while till they think business travel will return.
Yeah,
but they think there's also
a
good chunk of it that will not come back, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I agree. So let's explore that topic a little bit more. If you've got any specific things that you want to know about ULCCs, we have a fair amount of friends in the industry flying there. So if you want to hear more about the lifestyle of a ULCC pilot, or obviously it would be ideal to get somebody, like a recruiter would be really good. So,
yeah, we got a couple ideas. So we're going to do a deep dive into that one.
We'll dig into that soon. So if you got anything you want to hear about that, let us know. It's info@215podcast.com. Thanks to everybody who wrote in on the mailbag and left reviews on the show. That really helps us, helps with the algorithm, shoots our show to the very front. All right, Max.
Where do we start?
I think
hold on. Let me consult the chief editor. Where do we start?
The Google Doc doesn't have anything beyond this, so I think we should just go right into. I mean, you got to start with Ted, right? You got to give the people what they want.
Yeah, let's go.
All right,
let's get right into those cat stories.
Okay.
Interrupting my TikTok, Tom.
You're what?
I'm on TikTok. You're interrupting it right now.
You're on TikTok.
Ted, what's your screen name? We'll blast it out to our listeners. You can really get a big following.
Could you imagine?
I just have my wife's. I don't know. I have no idea.
Is it mostly cat content, or what are you after?
Lots of cat content. Lots of cat content. I would say about 50% is cat content.
Are the cats? Because I know like TikTok's big on like the lip syncing of songs. So are the cats involved? I'm not on TikTok.
Have we talked about Ted's cats and rap music on this show? I don't know. Did you send those to anyone else or just me?
Well, you're the only one that appreciates the funniness of them.
So sometimes I'll get a video out of the blue, and it's just a movie of Ted's cat sitting there usually, and him playing some like really hard gangster rap in the background for like a good 30 seconds to a minute.
That's so true.
And the best part is I'll get it and I'll die laughing. And whoever's around will be like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'll show them the video and they don't, not even a crack a smile. They're just like,
what the hell
are they like waiting for something to happen to the cat?
Yeah.
But the cat is just looking around, dude. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I guess we're gonna have to post one of these, unless you can share one on your TikTok, Ted.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to
watch.
It's not even moving. It's so fat. This is great content for our listeners.
Like
yeah, they're gonna love.
I don't know. I don't know why it's so funny, but it is hilarious.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll have to share some of that.
What makes you think to send those?
The Jameson does weird things to my mind.
Wait, so are you actually listening to that? And are those organic, or are you? Is it?
Are you
staged?
setting that? Are you staging that? Yeah.
No, I will come back from the bar a little drunk, and then I play with my cats and I listen to rap music.
And
sometimes I take videos.
Where's your wife during all this?
She's usually on Snapchat making fun of me, sending videos of me being ridiculous.
We really gotta
follow her on Snapchat.
Yeah, we got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Gee, many Christmas.
Anyway.
Wow. Well, we have been getting a lot of requests to check in with you, Teddy. And this, I think, is the first call of the new year. So we just wanted to, obviously, first and foremost, get an update on your 2-year home renovation project.
It's not a good subject, but it's moving now.
Should we get your wife on to talk about it?
No, man.
She's here. She's here. She's in the background.
She saw you write those checks today.
She already cried once today. Let's not bring up the home renovation again.
Oh my God. You know, a lot of the content we have with you, Ted, is you talking about flying with these guys at the majors and finding new and interesting ways to put up with them. And you told me a little bit about your YouTube follies. Why don't you? I don't know if Max has heard about this, but
the guys who have discovered like a new financial guru or someone who's on YouTube because they're the first one to find it. And then they'll be like, you have to follow this guy on YouTube. He really gets it. He really knows what he's talking about.
It turns out it's Peter Schiff talking about gold.
And I'm like, dude, he's on YouTube because no one else is listening to him. He posted his own stuff.
So wait, the first thing you should ask is be like, did you find this guy on CNBC?
oh my God.
Or was this a Market Watch guest?
Do they push play on the phone and then just hold the phone up so the audio is going through the speaker and just like holding it over the console?
Yeah. They have their phone. They're videoing their computer at home, and then they're sending it.
Oh yes, that's incredible.
Have you actually seen that?
I have seen things like that. Yes.
Oh, that's even better. And then obviously when you're flying with them, and then also are they any of these guys? I imagine maybe do a little union forum post as well.
Yep, they posted in the union forum, and then they're this one guy. He believes you can cure anything with just vitamin C supplements. And he posts all these videos about it. And then this guy that do the financial stuff, and then there's the guys that do like the nutritional stuff.
Oh man, I can't even imagine the politics YouTube. We're not even going to go there. That's just
yeah.
Don't
open that one up.
That would just be incredible.
The conspiracy theory political videos.
Oh my gosh!
But it's funny. They feel like they
so found this new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they discovered it. This new thing called YouTube.
I haven't had that. It's mostly people showing me their own content that they've created, like videos or photos of, like, remember I told you the guy with the rabbits and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't understand that no matter what your view is on any issue, there's a video on YouTube that is going to support that.
Yeah.
You know? So they think it's like, no, I'm right. And see, here's why. And it's like, well, actually, you could find anybody on YouTube to tell you that.
Pretty much.
Anytime someone does that, refer them right to The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and it will really enlighten them, I'm sure.
Max, I like to show them the videos of Jamie Lee Curtis working out.
What movie is that from again?
That's a movie from the 80s called Perfect.
Yeah.
There's a great video montage on YouTube of that.
Is it really? Oh my God.
Yes, it's really
Jamie
good.
Lee Curtis in a leotard and leg warmers doing air squats. You're just like, I remember you sent that to me, and I was like,
I think this
of all of the videos on the internet, that's the one, huh?
And then
that's the one.
And then Jamie Lee Curtis got bumped for the cats in the hardcore rap.
Yeah.
It's so much.
Oh,
I appreciate the cats more.
Yeah. I think this is a new vertical for the podcast, a new income stream, Max, is we, instead of having the newsletter, it's like you can pay to subscribe to the TED content. It's just kind of random, whatever. Who knows what it could be.
How weird do you
I've
want
been
to
a
get?
subscriber for years.
Yeah. You've been a subscriber
we could
for
just
free.
go, on your text message and you go to the top of pictures and videos.
Mm-hmm.
We could go through there for a while.
Yeah. This is good. Well, we'll have to find a couple choice posts to share. It's
pretty graphic.
Yeah. Anything 2021 in the last episode, Ted, I was talking was a pretty weird year for me. Flying so far, just a lot of weird stuff happening. Have you had any in-air trials and tribulations, or has it been okay?
Dealt with a closed air traffic control tower in Charlotte the other day.
Oh, see, I dealt with this too. What was your experience?
Well, we sat on the ground for 2.5 hours trying to get there. But
before you couldn't even take off to go?
Yeah, I couldn't even take off because they were closed it and cleaning it, but it was just a nightmare. But though I did have it happen at a smaller airport where I did actually have to bust out the turning left base type stuff. Position reports.
Max and I were talking about that in the last episode because, that's in business aviation, we do it a little bit more. But what was that like in the airline world? I mean,
it's it comes back to you, but it's also really like annoying.
do you use the flight number, or do you just say like,
No, you gotta use
like
the flight number. What kind of question is that?
white Airbus 330 left base?
No, you just flight number, then Airbus.
That's boring.
Yeah.
You said Airbus? You didn't just say whatever, and you said...
I think I did. Am I not supposed to do that? It's been so long, I don't remember.
Did you overfly and look at the wind tetrahedron and observe the segmented circle as well?
I was trying to provide my type, I guess, for other smaller aircraft.
Did the captain go, well, so when do I turn on the landing lights if no one's going to give me a landing clearance?
So one guy did not know how to turn on pilot-controlled lighting for the runway. I had to tell him how to do it.
Oh,
did you give him that? How many clicks for each level of intensity? Did you remember?
Yeah, he could not even understand any of that. He's just like, turn the damn lights on. I'm like, well, do you want them bright or do you want them medium or light? He's like, I don't care, just turn them on.
I hope you lit it up so the approach lighting system, everything just blinded.
It's usually best for these 64-year-old guys to turn as high as possible.
Is it just like the screen brightness on their phone when they're showing you the YouTube videos also?
Oh my God. The whole entire cockpit full blast in the middle of the night, and then runway lights as high as possible.
And then a text pops up in the middle of the video, and you wonder, how do you get the text so large?
Oh man.
Do you ever get these at the dinner? Would you go to the dinner and then you're getting the YouTube, or is it mostly when you're working?
It's usually those hours across the country.
Okay.
Yeah, you're trapped.
I try to avoid dinner with 97% of the people I work with.
What is your top 3 excuses of why you can't come down for dinner or drinks?
Work on my bid.
Don't you guys have PBS?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a default one, but these guys still don't get it.
Do you have an old bid packet from the regional days you hold on your arm with the USA Today?
Right? Yeah.
Tell them about when you flew at you can even probably say the name of the regional you flew with, because I don't even think it exists anymore, but tell them about the bid packet and the captains you'd fly with.
Oh my God. They would bust out 4 or 5 different highlighter colors. They had this coding system to figure out their line and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, it was ridiculous. They would spend, I think one guy was spending probably 24 hours every month on just his bid.
But tell them how they submitted their bids.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. They actually turned in a paper bid sheet.
Yeah, they faxed it into the chief pilot.
Yeah, that's right.
No way.
Yeah.
They were faxing it into the chief pilot office.
From where? The hotel?
I don't know. Their house.
Could you just see that? You're in the Des Moines Holiday Inn Express. And some guy walks up in his New Balances and it's like, can you fax this into the...
Yeah.
What do you charge per page? There's a FedEx down the street.
charge is $9.
Oh, man. I remember that, though. I remember going through a paper bid packet.
Yeah, I do too. I remember getting those bid packets.
It's kind of fun. I mean, it was something to do to pass the time, at least.
I still had a paper bid packet in 2014.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was a stretch.
Yeah.
What went away first, paper charts or the paper bid packet?
Oh, man.
Ooh, God, it was right at the same time.
Poof.
We're going to, I've had this idea. I'm going to give the listeners right now the chance to send us an email. I want to have an entire episode where all we do is talk to people who screwed up their bids. And then come on and tell the stories.
We could call a couple people right now.
I already have some friends that totally blew it. And I just heard about another guy the other day. So this is your chance. If you have a great story about blowing your bid, not just I meant to do weekends off.
Monthly bid or vacancy. The vacancy ones are the best.
Status bids are the ultimate.
Yeah, it's got to be a vacancy or position.
Yeah, that's the best. Well, one of our
good.
friends did that. Right?
I know. Let's save that one. Let's save that one because that one is the best. So info@215podcast.com if you want to tell us how you screwed your bid up. And then, Ted, we'll read them all on the air with you. I think that'd be fun. And then you can
Did we have an Eagle buddy that got like awarded like San Juan ATR by accident or something?
Oh, I
Screw up?
don't want to give this story away. It is an Eagle buddy, and it's so good. I want him to tell it. Because I feel like we could
the
call
delivery
him.
is going to be
The delivery. It's all going to be in the delivery. So we'll whet the appetite now. And I know there's going to be a million other people. So write us and let us know, and then we'll have Ted live on the show, and it'll be you can call in, and we'll just ridicule all these. I mean, everybody's done it, obviously,
or forgot to bid. Yeah, and then
the forgot to bid. I don't want to hear that story unless there's something really good along with it. But I've got this one about this base change. It's just the best. Little teaser, but all right. Well, Ted, we're glad the cats are active, and we're excited to hear their review of the new. What are they listening to now? Is their new album dropping soon? That they're
just the hip hop channel.
Are they more West Coast or East Coast?
They're big into 2 Chainz right now.
Oh, okay.
Seems to be their go-to. They like the stuff from the South, you know.
Why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they?
That's such a fun.
Ted, can we post one or two of those cat videos though? Seriously.
Yeah, I got plenty of them. I'll send them to you.
Can we make a compilation?
All right. I love it. All right, Ted. Well, thanks for staying up late to chat with us, and we're looking forward to our next check-in, the How I Screwed Up My Bids with Ted segment. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, he's playing one right now. All right. We'll talk to you later, Teddy. See ya.
Later.
Good stuff from Teddy. And you know what? While we're on a roll talking to old college friends, I haven't told you why we're calling Roy yet, but let's just give Roy a call too while we're at it.
Never know what you're going to get with Roy. So
I love anytime
you and Roy. His problem is you and Roy. It's not
Yes.
Roy. It's you guys are. I'm not going to say volatile combination because I don't think that's the right choice, but let's just say interesting. You guys are into some interests you and I don't really share.
One time in college, Max and all of his buddies, all the cool kids, invited Roy and I along to a spring break in Rocky Point.
That was, and Roy shows up and he has a black and white camera.
Yeah.
Do you remember those shots?
Incredible.
Oh my God. Me with my arm around a federale. We're walking down.
It was like he brought a photojournalism team along.
Yeah, it was. How did that happen?
How would you pick the 2 goofballs to come along with you to Mexico? Well, you probably needed 2 more people to make the rent on that.
To split the 15-passenger van.
Deal. And you're like, who won't drink any of our beer, steal any of our girls? Oh, I know.
Who will be coherent enough to bail me out of jail?
Who could possibly drive?
Dylan.
All right, here's our call with Roy. And we're doing it live with our buddy Roy, who's been on the show many times before. Welcome back to the 21.5 podcast, Roy.
Hi.
Why don't you share for our listeners your big new career news?
Ooh.
I'm employed. Woo!
Yes.
Winning.
Win.
I just recently finished a initial type rating training for the Bombardier Canadair Airbus A220. And now I get to fly it this weekend, so I'm excited.
Ooh, first trip.
First trip. My apologies to the people who live in the Chicago metropolitan area Saturday nights.
What is the initial reaction?
So far, it's amazing. It's actually it's really interesting. The airplane does a lot of things for you, but still affords you the opportunity to have fun flying the airplane. I think if you look at the automation and the overall, fly-by-wire architecture and how things are displayed in the flight deck, you may see that it's something that takes the pilot out of it. I think what it does is actually gives you more opportunity to see everything else and actually have fun flying the airplane. Whether or not that translates from the simulator to the real airplane, I'll let you know after this weekend.
And this airplane has side sticks, right?
Yes. Unlike the Airbus, the side sticks actually have trim switches, so you actually can trim the airplane like a conventional airplane throughout the many degraded levels of fly-by-wire architecture.
Well, congrats on the new ink.
Yes. To be hidden by my long sleeves, like usual.
That's right. God, we get so many emails about the sleeves still. But this brings me to the point of why I wanted to call you today, Roy, which is I needed to bring you in because Max is going to be worthless on this. I wanted to talk about all of the internet stuff we have been seeing in the, I can't believe I'm saying this, the pilot meme community. Professional pilot meme community.
You're right.
So, Max, if you want to go make some coffee or maybe mix us a couple cocktails, we can catch up.
Does he have a crossword puzzle that we can give
this
him?
One?
Yeah.
Maybe a coloring
No, don't
book.
worry. I'll remain here to be very critical of you two.
Yeah. So it's really funny because I didn't really, I run the podcast stuff, and so I'm on Instagram a little bit more than I used to be, and I never really
The
followed
average middle-aged man.
Yeah, right. Well, I shouldn't say I'm on Instagram more. I follow accounts that I normally wouldn't follow because it's just not the culture that I'm into. But there's all these pilot meme accounts, and it used to be really funny, and it's just taken this very dark turn during the pandemic. And I know Roy and I have talked about this before, and this is something you've kind of seen in the past, right, Roy?
Yeah, I think it's people trying to get through furlough, hard times, what the economy is doing, what the industry is going to do in response to all that. And it really brings out the nihilist in every one of these meme accounts.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And now we're starting to see a lot of traffic on the topic of mental health and pilots.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to the memes. Like, what? Can you give me an example of? I know what a meme is, but what are you seeing that it's so distressing? Like making fun of people being out of work, like those ones.
I think it's just a very macabre look at our job.
Well, like they used to be really funny, like kind of, haha, I'm wearing my New Balances and we're all going to Applebee's to Captain's buying us dinner and we're having riblets and, just kind of the typical, like, kind of
Riblets.
And what's the drink you get at Applebee's that's terrible? The cheap
asking the
margarita.
wrong guy.
Dollaritas. I think they're called Dollaritas. But it was just a lot of those kind of jokes and stuff. And then it's just gone into this like really interesting place.
Oh yeah, and I think what you're getting to next is, the idea they're coming full circle. They're talking about, having some funnies about the work, our jobs, the dumb things we do as pilots, as airline people. And then there isn't a lot of funny with that. So then it kind of takes like a somewhat depressive look at our jobs and things like that, trying to make light of those situations. And then now you have these same meme accounts that are trying to push for reforms in the aeromedical realm of our job with regards to depression and things like that.
Yeah, this is what's really been interesting. And Max just gave me a look like, what?
He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like what Roy's saying, and if anyone or any of our listeners have been watching this, there's been a lot of messages like pilots can't get mental health help because they're afraid of losing their medicals is kind of the general message. And so there's a lot of these memes are now being made about this. And I think what's so interesting is we've been seeing the same thing happen in a completely separate arena, which is on all of this GameStop, the meme stocks and stuff, where Max is just like ready to explode right now, where it's like all this meme culture is actually driving these interesting messages from the public that it's like this new vehicle of protest in a way.
I think what you guys are trying to say is that, like, when somebody says they're just joking, but there's actually they're not joking part of them. Is that what are you saying, that the memes are a joke but not necessarily 100% a joke? I feel like Michael Scott right now at The Office.
Well, that old adage that there's truth behind every joke.
Yeah.
I think that's just coming to fruition as of lately with these pushes for reform from the FAA aeromedical standards.
I'm curious to hear from our listeners. Is this a topic that would be interesting for us to explore in the future with maybe some actual accredited professionals?
Where do I vote for this? Where do I find the link
I don't
for
know.
the poll?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about reform, Roy? Do you think there's some validity to what they're saying?
Absolutely. You know, I've seen my father struggle through when he was around with his life and issues with the Mike Monroney Center in Oklahoma City denying him his medical based on varying levels of acceptance of different kinds of prescriptions that he was on. And it's, you know, seeing these people talk about depression and other mental health issues and how they can ruin a pilot's career, it's pretty easy to see that there is opportunities for things to be a little bit better as far as how the FAA works with these issues. We've already seen developments with how sleep apnea was once a pretty debilitating diagnosis for your medical certificate in your career. And nowadays we have pilots that have gone through the process and jumped through many hoops with different doctors and studies and such to have their first class medical given back to them so that they can continue to fly, even though they have that condition. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for the community to look at these issues that people deal with and to force the FAA, or at least to start that conversation with the FAA and other industry people to look at how we can use science to help people that may have these issues instead of just you know, getting rid of their medical and not letting them continue in their career field.
Well, I think that in all seriousness, because mental health is kind of like the thing that nobody really wants to talk about. Like, it's if you have a heart condition or sleep apnea or something, that's pretty cut and dry. And here's what you need to do, and you get this and observe for this and get these tests.
Yeah.
But I think something you can equate it to is the HIMSS program, which for those of you guys that are corporate guys, that's the alcoholism program for pilots, where you admit you have a problem and you come to the program via the union and and the company's involved and everything, and they pull you off the line and help you get better and then bring you back. And that's another one of those things like mental health that's the ugly thing that nobody wants to talk about, but they found a way to take people, from the depths of that and bring them back to their career. So hopefully they can find something with mental health.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing you're saying is the stigma, I don't know. Maybe it's just the people that I'm surrounded with, but I don't know if you guys see this more. I just see much more in general, a lot more awareness into like mindfulness and mental health and mental well-being. Are you guys starting to see more of that?
Yeah. I mean, even with your own personal care physician, those questions are coming up a lot more. And, I think the efforts of those that are trying to bring light to the situation are certainly helping out. And, what's been happening in our country and such has surely been pushing this idea of how medical or mental health reforms need to be taken seriously and what have you. So it's only natural that it's going to come to our industry as well.
I think so. So I don't know. I just wanted to have a quick conversation on it and see if that was something that our listeners were interested in exploring more, because for the folks that have been in the meme community lately, no, I'm not looking at Max.
How do you become part of the meme community exactly? That's what I'd like to know.
I don't think you have enough layovers in Devil's Lake to become part of the meme community.
Are you seeking these out, or because most of my exposure to memes comes from group text messages? Are you finding these like on Instagram? Are you following like hashtag pilot memes?
No, there's a few. Roy, why don't you explain to Max what a meme lord is?
Oh my God, is that a thing?
I don't know if I'm accredited to answer that question.
Is that seriously?
I know that I have some friends that are self-proclaimed meme lords, but
oh my God,
it's just a new style of art, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, but there are several big prominent aviation accounts that post.
I think would be really interesting for Max for this whole podcast is let's get Max to interview these people.
Oh my God, that would be the best show ever.
So you refer to yourself as a meme lord.
So you're telling me you take a picture, you put some words on the bottom, and you're making $0? Tell me about this.
Yeah. You spend all this time reposting.
Where do you find the time between your Harry Potter novels and your Pokemon card collection?
Well, you laugh. Maybe they're all like DFV on Wall Street Bets, just making millions and billions of dollars off all these memes. We don't know.
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Jeez. Yeah,
You
that's
never
going to
know.
be great. Max and the Meme Lords sounds like a sideshow.
Meme Lord. Is that just, I mean, I have to assume that's the person that produces the memes?
Yeah, but someone who's been accredited in the meme community to post
They're
quality content.
Is there a formal accreditation in the meme community?
Oh, absolutely.
Does he have a
There are
certificate?
There's a governing body, yes.
those who steal
What
other
is it?
people's memes.
What are the
There's a
chairs
whole-
that are oversee the meme lords called?
Yeah. Oh, that's
the
a good
meme wizards?
I think it's like powered paragliding. It's self-regulated.
Yeah, how does that work out?
Seems to be doing pretty good.
Meme lord.
I kind of want to.
They've gotten rid of some of the people that steal memes online, gotten rid of the people that make horrible memes and kind of shun the community away from them. They're kind of taking care of themselves. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, self-regulating. So I know this conversation is not going to... Max is now Googling images of meme lords. So
Actually, maybe Ted should interview the meme lords.
Max, that's going to be the sideshow is Max, Ted, and the meme lords. Just get riveting content here as Max Googles images. I know our listeners are going to really be entertained by this.
Oh my God, yeah.
But all joking aside, I do think that that is a vehicle that is people are bringing legitimate topics to light. So
Yeah, what's interesting is it's just like what happened with Wall Street Bets. You have people that are kind of poking the bear at these things, and they're doing it in kind of their own artistic way. And really the onus is on us now, those people that view those things and see an opportunity for change to be made, to do it, because a meme isn't going to take itself to Congress and make something happen. It's truly on the community of people that, view those things and take the next step to actually make it happen.
yeah, that's well said. That's a good point. So yeah, I think it's definitely a topic worth exploring in the future. And I wanted to ask you, we've been getting a lot of questions from folks that want to do another gear review episode soon. So we've got some suitcases, upcoming suitcase reviews. I mean, this is really, really riveting stuff.
Roy's good with the gear, though. I got to admit.
I know. He's got a lot of gear. I've got some
His
new
Apple
gear.
Watch charging regimen really changed my life.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
So
He's got things figured out. I'll
that's
give it to
right.
him.
So that's a very heavily requested segment. So we'll have another one of those in the near future. So if there's any particular products or questions you have that you'd like for us to talk about, hit us up, info@215podcast.com, and we'll include those.
All right.
All right. Thanks for the update. Roy, always a pleasure. Congratulations on your new type rating. Enjoy the 220.
Indeed.
I'm excited.
And
Let us know when you pass your meme lord exam.
yeah, that's right. That's
We'll be
the
staying
When I get
tuned.
my meme type.
typed. What software are these guys using? That's what I want to know too. Wait, I can't wait for Max to learn about deep fried memes.
I don't even. I can't.
Distorted bass memes.
This is good.
Is that really a distorted bass memes? All right, Roy, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Cut.
Cut.
Talk to you next time.
We got to get out of this. All right.
Run guard.
Would you like to share what you've been up to for the past while?
Yeah. Well, I've embarked on a project.
Because you have so much free time.
Yes. Wise decision. Well, it's not as bad as it sounds. So I bought an airplane that was mostly complete, that a gentleman had been building for the last 18 years, and which is the story of most experimental airplanes.
18 years.
But this was mostly complete, but it had old 6-pack panel and round dial gauges, and
Which was cutting edge when he started building it.
yeah, it really was a nice
18
panel.
years.
It had HF radio in it, and a provision is in the fuel system for for big fuel bladder in the cabin, and a method in which to add oil from the cockpit, because this gentleman was going to fly this airplane from Australia to the United States. And this is an airplane called a Murphy Moose, which is a 6-seat tail dragger, as a 9-cylinder radial engine,
Manufactured in what country?
The Russia or Romania, depending on which one. Mine is Romanian.
Okay.
And so anyway, so I bought it and in a sense redid all of there's no original wiring in the airplane. So the whole electrical system, it was 24 volt system. I'm changing it to 12 volt and new panel, all Garmin G3X touchscreens. It's going to look like Starship Enterprise and fly LPV approaches and all kinds of stuff.
At
which
87
might
knots.
have gone a little overboard on the avionics, I'll admit, but it will be cool. And
the panel is going to be amazing.
New interior, paint, the engine pulled and basically torn down and overhauled because he bought it, stuck it on there, and then let it sit for 15 years. So there was internal corrosion on the cylinders and stuff. So I had it torn down, new pistons, higher compression, more power.
That's what you need.
Over 400 horsepower. Yeah. It'll be pretty cool. So, and we'll throw some pictures up, but today's just a good example. So I had the avionics panel pre-wired, and so some wiring harness made. So a lot of the avionics is wired, and then you have to wire in components and sensors and run wiring harnesses to all the different autopilot servos and all this stuff, right? So today I'm running this wire to the Garmin GMU11, which is a magnetometer, and it has to be mounted very specifically far away from other wiring and servo motors and lighting, and it has to be aligned with the longitudinal and lateral axis of the airplane very closely. So we built this mount for it that's like right on the money and the whole deal. And the only place I could find to mount it that complied with all of the restrictions with this piece of equipment is up on the top of the vertical tail. And there was a flashing old school, like high voltage beacon up there and VOR antennas, of which I got rid of. So now it's just aluminum up there and you use non-ferrous screws and yada, yada. So, so I mount this thing. So I got the wire harness. It's got to run all the way up this conduit. So I'm shoved in the back of this airplane. I can't move. I'm feeding this wiring harness and I get there and I'm like, all right, I get all the wire fed and I hop out. I go to the top of the tail and there's no wire sticking out of the conduit.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh boy. And so I'm like, I wonder if it's like, so I pull it out a little bit to see if it's kinked, but it's like 1/2 tube. It can't really get kinked. It's all has the snakeskin stuff on it. So I'm like, it's pretty unlikely. So I push it back up there and I'm like, it's got to be close. So I get out my camera, that hooks up to your phone and it's like a
borescope type.
a borescope type camera. And I stick it down the conduit and sure enough, it goes down about 6 inches and hits the end of the wire. I'm like, no way. So I go back inside and I try and see if I can, get some length from somewhere and go back in. And now it's like 3 inches short. And I'm like,
oh boy.
Short. And this is like CAN bus, which is the network of the airplane. You really don't want to splice it. So, and of course the wire is only, $6 a foot. So, so I have to buy a whole new stretch of wire to.
So did it just come in a predetermined length and you just kind of guessed, or did you know you were going to put it up there? No, you measure
it and but it's hard sometimes because you want to have service loop and have some length, but you don't want to have too much,
right?
Because you're stashing wiring everywhere, and so it's a fine line sometimes. And when you're running with the conduit going through the tail and then up the tail, it's one of those things. In retrospect, what I should have done is connected all the conduit, took a piece of safety wire, fed it down exactly where I needed to go, put a piece of tape around it, pulled it out, and measured it. So those of you out there, but
learn from your mistakes.
I was really pissed off about that, right? Because it's just a needless waste of time and money. And I'm like, God. And then I go to Aircraft Spruce, type in the wire, back order till the end of February. I'm like, so I call the avionics guy and confess what's gone on. And I'm like, do you have a spool of this? A spool of 1,000, it's like $3,000 for a spool. It's the most expensive wire in the airplane.
Holy cow.
So he has it, so he sells me, he's going to cut some off and send me the length I need.
Have him cut it about 10% longer than you think.
I need like 9 feet. I'm like, just give me 12. Let's just be safe.
Yeah. Let's not.
So anyway, so I'm like, I just have to finish something, like, because when it goes wrong like that and you leave, then you're really pissed off. So I pivot to something else.
Yeah.
And I go to pin out this connector and put these D-sub pins in it. First pin I stick in there is in the wrong hole. I'm like, dude, what? It's just not, it's not my day. So I fiddle around with it for 10 minutes trying to de-pin it with the special tool. And I finally de-pin it and put all the pins in. And I'm like, all right, I made a connector. I'll just quit on this success and go home.
That's got to be the
anyway.
most frustrating part to me, I think,
Oh.
of why I don't think I could do that, because I'm the type of person when I'm building a project, I just get so frustrated when it doesn't work, the way it should.
Oh,
I'm just
totally.
like,
it's so frustrating and it's time consuming.
Exactly. And
it's
you're just making
expensive.
no progress.
But then you do, like, now the wings, like, I took this airplane, I took the wings off, all the flaps, ailerons, all the flight controls off, and I put it in a trailer, and now it's paint. Like, I was out there, had surface corrosion because it was just bare aluminum, and I think it was in Australia and then here. So it was like scrubbing it with Scotch-Brite pads and Alumibrite and like all this, chemicals to get all that off. I mean, I put a lot of like physical labor, and then now it's like painted and it looks awesome. And I got the wings on and the flight controls all back on and the flaps, and it's all rigged. So you go in there and you move the stick and everything moves. And like, you get to those parts where you made an appreciable difference, and you're like, wow, that is actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you've combined, so you're like, wow,
No,
and then we got the panel, in and click out, and I'm wiring everything. And it's like the panel is really cool, and it's in. It's like, that's another big, like,
I haven't been there since that.
So
I want to see that.
It's a journey. It'll be cool. It's like building a house. Whereas, like I said, you can buy a house and it's what you want, or you can build one and have exactly what you want. And so that's what you pay for in time and frustration and money. Well, I'll tell you, the best way to build an airplane is if you already have an airplane you can fly.
Oh.
And they also say too, there are builders and flyers. And I'm a flyer.
Right.
Because a lot of guys build airplanes, like retired guys that have a lot of time in their hands, because it's a project that keeps them busy.
Yeah, they love it.
Those are builders, right?
Well, it's like your dad. He built that kit car.
Yeah, and then never drives it. Exactly.
And then never drives it. And he'd love to buld another one, but he doesn't really want to drive it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have him come down and help build this airplane.
It's very smart. If anyone wants to buy a hot rod, Scottsdale, let us know.
Going up on eBay real quick. But anyway.
That's a cool update. And the pictures, you guys are going to be really impressed with this airplane. This is a monster. Like, you could
for a single engine.
Yeah. This is
reciprocated motor, but
the paint job you did looks really cool. So we'll get some photos up on the socials you can check out. Hopefully, maybe later this year, you'll get some actual footage. Is there
easy? The motor shows up in 3 weeks. All right, let's calm down.
Yeah, later this year. Where is the 21.5 decal going? Is that?
Well, as soon as my accountant gets back into touch with what the tax advantages are of
that's right.
advertising platform.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna end up towing a 21.5 banner around. Just
I have to see I'm looking for the minimum size of the decal that is accepted by the Internal Revenue Service. So.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks for sharing the update. We're looking forward to following along with all of that progress. One of these days, one of our stories will be the story of you liberating that airplane from its previous owner and driving it to. Yeah. Well, Max, we received a message from the listener who's on the line right now about a story about my least favorite airport in the entire world, which I mentioned a few episodes ago, the Heber Airport in Utah.
Very tough.
Like all the people there, do not like the airport. And then our friend here mentioned that he had a story about Heber of his own.
Yeah. So I heard your podcast and you're lamenting about Heber City, and it conjured up this vivid experience. And one of these frustrating ones where something kind of crazy happens and you think back and you have no idea how you could have done it better. But so December 2013, we flew into Heber City the night before, had a good dinner and everything up in Park City, kind of was enjoying the whole experience. And then on the way out, I don't know, mid-morning, and uncontrolled field there in Heber City. And there's a designated calm wind runway. The winds were calm. It was a blue sky. Snow had fallen a few days prior. And so it's kind of that, in the summertime, you get a mirage out in the desert, but in the wintertime, you can kind of also get a little mirage when
right.
There's like just this like crystalline blanket of snow kind of off, out on the distance. So anyway, we started up making our CTAF calls and everything and making sure everybody knew where we were as we were taxiing from the FBO out to depart.
What kind of airplane were you in?
It was a Citation 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Perfect for
I don't know,
those
I had
short,
done-
high altitude runways.
Yeah, especially when you're doing a transcon out to Teterboro, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is what
Perfect.
we're doing with 4 or 5 passengers. But I don't know. That's just what you do in the business, right?
Right.
And
When you have APG, it always works out.
yeah, you got APG, so it's all good.
Shout out.
Yeah. Anyway, so I done some uncontrolled flying, all throughout my career. And one of the previous operators' technique was whenever like crossing a runway or at an uncontrolled field, we just always turn the TCAS on right from the start. So we can kind of have a picture of, especially if nobody's talking. And this is before ADSB
Right.
was a thing really, right? So anyway, so we taxi out to the runway, we're making our calls. But one thing on the way out to runway, I think it's 22 there in Heber City, there's some hangars that are really close to the taxiways you're going out to that runway. And so there's some guys with this old warbird, I think a Yak or something, that were out there, and they actually had to like push the airplane out of the way so that we could get by, right? And they're just not used to a lot of large airplane traffic there. And anyway, so we take the runway and we've got our clearance and everything. We're making all our calls, and as we line up, I look down, and the last thing I kind of remember this thing when I'm recalling this was I saw a truck driving on the highway down by the reservoir, which is off the end of the runway,
Right.
and kind of a little like wavy mirage thing. So we had power rolling down the runway and kind of right around 80 knots, right in that little zone of, your first kind of decision point. You start to see kind of a little blob where that truck was, but you couldn't make out anything of what was happening. But that was kind of the first thing I noticed. And then about 10 more knots or so go by, and I just kind of mentioned to my co-pilot that day, like, are you seeing? And she said, yeah. And within a few more knots is this vivid silhouette shape of a Baron. It's like those posters of aircraft identification, and they show you the silhouettes of the airplanes, and how far out they are and stuff, right? So it's like, here's the silhouette, like, oh, there's a Beech Baron, and it's coming right at us. So at that point, we were kind of rocketing right towards V1.
Wait, hold on.
Early.
So was the Beech Baron on the runway or in the air?
They were on the runway, rolling on the runway towards us as we were on our departure
Like
roll.
Tenerife style. Oh.
Right. So there's only, at that point, if we had aborted the takeoff, we're going to be on the runway, and then they might abort the takeoff. And then we're still kind of, doing like bumper cars, with our tiny little airplane tires below us sliding around, right? So that didn't jump into my head as a viable option. And so I just kind of made the decision that my performance is probably better than theirs. And so we just kind of rotated early and broke ground. And I look down and I see a Baron go right, in the corner between the cockpit window, right before it goes out of sight. And I could see 2 people, kind of right in the windshield go below me. And they're airborne at that point too.
Oh,
yeah. So we both basically rotated at the same, and then I guess we just won with the, getting higher. And so, one of the, it happens. You don't even have time to really think about it yet, right? Or like talk about it. It's just because, we're flying the airplane. So, gear up, got to 1,000 feet, got our first flap retraction or whatever. I don't know, I haven't flown that airplane in a while, so I can't remember the specifics of the profile. And then we just hear this sorry on the radio. So I kind of jumped on there and said something like, well, we didn't hear any radio calls from you. And there was another little tail dragger that was transiting the area that we saw fly over us as we were taxiing out. And he got on the radio and goes, oh, yeah, I heard the jet. And then this guy, he just said something else. I don't really recall the specifics, but. So,
he didn't give you a phone number to call?
Right.
Did you ask him to land and meet you in front of the FBO?
Yeah.
For a meeting?
This is a live leg. We had passengers in the back. So, I kind of glanced back there. They're they're none the wiser. And so we kind of climb out on our way. And then once we got up at altitude and everything, we got on the sat phone and called back to our ops, told them kind of what went on. And then the person I was flying with called back to the FBO, kind of told them what happened. And they said, oh, yeah, the guys that had the Yak Warbird ran over to the FBO saying what happened is Baron just came like wing down towards our hangar, kind of, basically caught in our wake and fluttered out and then, ended up climbing out in their other direction. And so, both of us, it wasn't a good deal for either airplane involved, right?
Holy cow.
Yeah. anyways,
So let's when you first like realized that was it actually an airplane coming in the opposite direction at you, and then you said you rotated. I mean, was that like 2 seconds before you pulled back, or was it like were you staring down the barrel of a gun for a few seconds waiting to get the speed up, or like how much time was that?
I mean, there was a potato. Yeah, there was kind of a okay, like
a potato in your underwear.
Right. Yeah. It was, and so when we broke this down after the fact, we figured on the jet plate you can see the altitude at each end of the runway, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't remember which ones where the slope is. I'm thinking the runway we were departing to has a downward slope.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Why, like that's what works best for the departure and for APG and all that. But there's also what you don't see on there is there's a crown. So our safety department representative went back and kind of broke all this stuff down after the fact and said, if a Baron was at the other end of the runway with how tall a Baron is, you wouldn't see it from the numbers of the far runway. But that's not, I mean, I don't know if we would have caught it looking at the facility directory or anything, but it definitely wasn't noted on there. So it was just one of these things where aside from them making their radio calls, there's no other way we would have known they were there because they didn't have a transponder on. So we didn't see them on TCAS. I mean, I guess even on the ground that might not have registered anyway.
Right.
So the FAA, we filled out an ASAP report, which is something we added on operator, which was cool. The POI got a hold of the airport manager. They tracked down who this was because the FBO knew who it was, being that, the witnesses ran into the door right after it happened. I guess the story was it was the owner of a Baron taking it down to a maintenance shop to get some avionics maintenance. Who knows what that was? And had an instrument time builder in the right seat. So they were probably just talking away, right? What they were going to do this whole thing and just never heard any of our calls. So yeah, kind of a spooky deal.
Holy cow! Now I'm guessing the rest of the flight was completely uneventful on the way to Teterboro.
You would think, right? This was also I looked into my logbook, and it was the last flight, December 18th. So it was my last flight of that week-long rotation before going home for Christmas. That year.
Yeah, right.
And actually, I think it was my last flight that year, right? And so we're on our way to Teterboro. And the whole Northeast is one of those kind of gusty, clear blue sky, but, winds howling in the wrong direction for every airport out there.
I've been there.
And, and I don't recall what direction it was, but it was a crosswind. And that came to light on descent into the arrival as, we're coming down through the low teens, still around 280 or 300 knots. We had just pulled the power to start decelerating. I think we did 12,000 feet, go to 1,200 feet a minute or something to try to target 250 knots as you hit 10,000. And
right.
Kind of right as we pull the power to idle, we get a ICAS message for rudder limiter fault or failure on that airplane. So essentially, the rudder its travel is now limited in this position. And the way those airplanes work, right, is the rudder, the faster you go, the rudder travel is limited more, right?
Right.
So that you can't overpower and overstress the tail of the airplane. So in our situation, it failed at a high speed, which then gave us a crosswind limit for the landing, which 10 knots or 15 knots. I don't know. Some citation guys can look that up. But it made it to where we couldn't land at Teterboro, couldn't land at White Plains, couldn't land at Newark with the crosswinds that were running there. And so we ended up having to divert up to Stuart Newburgh. And so now we're back on the phone, coordinating transportation and all this stuff for the passengers.
Jeez, what a day! And then you had
I bet you proceeded direct to the Sea Caucus Embassy Suite happy hour that evening, huh?
Yeah, it was like the Hilton Garden Inn up there, Hilton Garden in Orange County or whatever that one is, right next to the West Coast Choppers shop that's up there.
Oh man.
Just kind of just went straight to the little hotel bar and said, "This is it. Not going anywhere else tonight."
Stared into the abyss. Yeah. Oh man. I've had a couple things happen on takeoff where I salute you for your discipline because it's so easy. Like if something abnormal happens, it's amazing how easy it can throw you off of like, oh yeah, get the flaps up or get the gear up. To be able to keep the present of mind to continue flying the airplane.
Those
like
are some
like
of
that.
the longest moments too of your life. Like I remember we were taking off in Telluride and it was windy, and we're in the G3 and we're blasting off, and pretty normal takeoff, and we get to 100 knots and the airspeed just stops, just sticks there. And Telluride, you fall off a cliff at the end.
Yeah.
And this is pre-EMAS days too.
Oh.
And I remember that, like, I don't know, it must have been second and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
That it just stagnated and you're barreling out of the runway. That's just like the longest moments of my life.
Yeah.
Just like,
there's nowhere to go there.
Well, I guess we're going to run it to the end and pull. And
do you know, speaking of that, do you know how below VR you were when you lifted off in Heber?
No, I mean, I think I was probably within 10 knots. The airplane was accelerating pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that Citation has a real straight candy bar wing, so it wants to fly.
Right.
It's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is we were, it was a cold weather day. So you're at altitude, but it was cold. And from there to Teterboro for that airplane really we weren't maxed out on weight and gas, So, I mean, we did have some excess performance to get above, which, I mean, we had just enough because there it was right below.
10 degrees, it could have been a different story, huh?
And then did you fill your application out to the majors the next day, or did you do it on the positioning flight home after that?
All the above. Yeah. I mean, it was, you write up the ASAP report and the safety report, send it to the company, and then you kind of like copy it right over to your interview story folder.
Right, exactly.
Tell me about a time folder.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time you played chicken with a piston. Oh, man. What a story.
So, as far as Heber City versus Salt Lake, I agree. There's much more
another point for Salt Lake, huh?
Everything involved for Salt Lake City.
Great people at Heber.
And, luckily that was a beautiful day. We didn't have to de-ice or do any of that stuff. So otherwise, everything should have worked.
That's the thing. It's the things that you can't control.
I can't wait till the guy that flies a 550 for a mining company calls in and be like, "You guys complain about Heber. Why don't you try flying to the Democratic Republic of Congo, bro?"
Right.
Or the People's Republic of Congo. Also crazy. There's two.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Was there a yak on the runway?
Yeah. Right. Animal or airplane, or maybe both. Oh, man. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to share this story. I don't know what else we take away from it.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
We're glad you're still with us.
Yeah.
And that's where we were at the end of that flight, was just look back, go, okay, I think we did everything right that we could have done, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, but hey, that's what it is. You do everything you can so that when the unknown happens, you're able to react and deal with hopefully only that and not other stuff that you should have prepared for.
And that goes back to your incredible training at the Harvard of the Skies Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, the sponsor of this episode. And then what we need to do is we need a little music, and then we need to play it, and then have you say in a really cheesy voice, go, "I learned about flying from that."
I'll have no part of that.
Yeah, this will take some rehearsal.
That's right. That's right. We'll get it to production on that.
Time for that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks for taking the time to call in. We appreciate the story.
Right on, guys. Keep up the good work.
Another one in the can.
Finally.
Thanks to Ted, our
Teddy.
boy.
Yes.
Also affectionately known as Teddy Wonderland.
Tenderness. Teddy ball game. Prime time.
Those are all real.
Those are all real. Tenderness is my favorite story someday to tell.
That might be a long time.
We've been teasing a lot of stories we have to tell. I think one of them is going to be...
Do people actually like hearing stories from college?
I don't know.
We
the
think
one
it's
about
hilarious.
Ted driving his car into the house. Like inside of it. Not into it like he crashed into it. Like he opened the doors.
We can just tell that one, bro. So we're at this house where they all lived, and him and some of our other buddies, and it had these double French doors to the backyard. And Ted was driving a Volkswagen Jetta at the time, white. And so our other buddy, who was out like working a lot and stuff, he was gone. So when we drove Ted's car through the double RV gates to the backyard, up onto the patio, and we like measured it, and we figured out his car would fit through the double French doors into the living room by just, an inch on either side, really close. So he comes and, there's a 4-inch step up on any sort of doorway to a patio.
Yeah, right.
So he
code.
comes and we get it all lined up and we're like, all right. And he hits it and kind of bounces back and rolls backwards. And there he stops. He sticks his whole head out the window. Like we wouldn't be able to hear him. He goes, "You need a little more speed." We're like, "Yeah, more speed." And so he pops it and gets up the little bump and into the living room. And then we shut the doors. We waited for our buddy to come home from work. And
I remember
Jetta in the living room.
Yeah. I think there's pictures of that we'll have. And the best part, it was our buddy came home, I think, and he was not pleased, and then everyone was asleep, and then he hopped in the car and started honking the horn early in the morning to wake everybody up. Oh, man. Really valuable education we received there.
Those were the days. Thanks to Harvey Watts.
Of course, yes. We'll be premiering their new hybrid policy here.
Easy. If we got to talk to Rob about that one.
Yeah, that's right. And thanks to Roy for calling in, and we'll have some good gear review stuff with him soon.
Very enlightening discussion. Thank you too for that, Dylan. That was incredible. Can you put a poll on the socials for how many people have Googled what a meme lord is at this point?
Oh yeah, most of them on the socials are going to know.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Right, we'll check. Yes, we'll put a poll in. If you want to connect with us between now and our next episode, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks, you can find us on LinkedIn. It'll be in the show notes. Just scroll down. You can find the link. And emails, always appreciated if you want something read on the air or something for flight advice. It's info@215podcast.com, or use the anonymous form we built on the website, which, by the way, all of you listeners are terrible at using. You probably haven't even seen what people have sent in.
No.
It's stupid. People don't understand how to use it. Somebody tried to send a response to a flight advice through there. Another guy wanted to know what kind of pants you wore through the
anonymously.
Yeah, anonymously wanted to ask, what are those pants, Max?
So you can't
mentioned?
reply because it's anonymous.
So listen, this is to submit a quandary for us to read. It's not.
Or some sort of confession, maybe.
Confession or like something. Yeah. It's not.
Not to ask questions.
That's the email address, info@215podcast.com.
So whoever wants to know what the pants are.
That's right.
Try again.
I can't respond. So I'm trying my best.
Commission pants.
These two guys.
Lululemon.
Yeah. That's
we'll
right.
Give you a freebie.
That's right. That was a freebie.
Check yourself.
So anyways, lots for you to go do in the meantime.
One other thing
that
the listeners have been slacking about is we need stories from you guys.
Yes.
We're running thin from ourselves and our friends. So please, if you have a good story, everybody does, step forward.
That's right. We need
Reach out.
Please.
Even if it's anonymous.
So think about your stories. And in the meantime, remember, flexibility.
It's the key to air power.
And yoga. See you guys.
Rock on.